multi-streaming. And I need to open.
I wanted to change the name of that, but we never did. But it's like
This. Let me get chat up over here real quick. Let me get Stream Manager up.
Yes, we got our manager tonight.
Yep. Seamus just hit a salute emoji. Nice.
Nice. Okay.
You need your mic.
Oh, gotta get mic'd up, man.
Nice. Let me make sure I have Twitch in the background.
I was still trying to figure out how to go live. Why won't it let me? 1 second ago, I had it.
Alrighty. We should be.
Are we live?
Live and rolling. And let me get the chat nice and big for us. Boom, boom, boom.
Going live on Insta.
For some reason, I'm not seeing the chat over here, but I am seeing it over on the left. So let me fix that.
Okay, going live on YouTube. Simulcasting it on Instagram for the first couple minutes here.
No, we should be good.
Hey. Okay, we're going live on YouTube.
We
Simulcasted on Instagram. I'm here with my son, Declan Lee.
Hey, everyone.
So we'll keep it up on Insta for a few minutes, but then we're going to transition over to YouTube. Let's see who's in the house. Bianca, hello. Beans in the house. Dr. Scott, good to see you on Instagram. We've got Outside Context Paradox. Captac Shay, glad to see you all. We're going live on YouTube, so I'm only keeping it up on Instagram for just a couple of minutes because we've got a lot of Vina. Hello, even Vina's in the house tonight. Beautiful. Timothy Griggs, how is everybody tonight? Okay, everybody on Instagram, join us over on YouTube. We'll see you over there, Dr. Trish Lee channel. Okay, what's happening? Let's see. Declan's got...
Yeah, we've got us all set up today. You should be able to hear our microphone and see us, see Dr. Trish in full HD.
Full HD.
Yes, very nice.
Don't forget the mic, please, says
we
Vina.
hope you can hear us right now.
Says Vina. Vina, give us a thumbs up if we've got decent microphone quality, hopefully. Hopefully we're good. Mm-hmm. You're ready for tonight? It's kind of like, I was thinking earlier today that it's kind of like the first day of school. Like when kids go to kindergarten, they go on day one and they're all excited because they don't know they have to go back for day 2 and day 3 and day 4.
And here we are for day 2 of Supernormal week.
We are here for day 2 of 7. We are going to be here all week long at 5 p.m. EST. So that's why I'm wondering how Declan's feeling about being back.
I'm feeling all right. It's only day 2. We're still getting warmed into it.
We're getting warmed up. I have no clue what we've got on tap for today, even though I have a lot of my own ideas for today. So
don't worry, we've got some great things on tap today.
Yep, we're gonna talk about Think About It Thursday, and from my perspective, we want to make sure we're helping you reframe your thoughts, helping you to question some of your thoughts and really anchor into the positive ones. I talked to a few of my clients today, really great conversations that brought more light to the conversation we're going to have here tonight. So I'm really excited to dive into it.
Nice.
What do you got? What's on your mind?
What's on my mind? Not much, just crafting the material for today. We're going to have a nice, we're going to talk about, what do you think About It Thursday entails?
Yeah, what do you think?
What do I think? Well, thinking about it is your thoughts. It's the concept of, do I trust what I think? Should I not? Is intuition always a positive thing? It's the overarching concept of the way that your brain thinks. Should you always trust it?
I love it. And when you have so many other people in your life telling you what you should do or what you shouldn't do, it can be really difficult to discern. And then when the algorithm is involved, it distorts your thinking significantly. And we talked about this yesterday. If you were here for yesterday, we talked about Willpower Wednesday. And one of the points that I made is that the algorithm is a new environment. It, in fact, is an environment. And it's distorting most people's thought processes. So we have to take that into consideration again today. So we are going to consider that.
That is right. Who do we have in the chat? We have Red Meme 6680, a classic member of the chat.
Climbing Rivers, hello. Let's see who Seamus is gonna shadow ban tonight.
Yeah, exactly. We have Bean 2840 in the chat, another classic member of the chat. Let me get back.
Better watch himself, or he might be banned, right?
Yeah, let's hope not. Let's hope Bean doesn't get banned. That would be no good.
Yeah. Okay,
Lena
we got
says
some.
The mic is good. That's
we got
nice.
Some questions coming in. Put questions into the chat. So every Wednesday I do After Hours Rewire, where I answer any question you want on explicit matter, on hypersexualized behavior. Tonight we are really talking about more of the mechanisms. All week long we're talking about the mechanisms behind any screen behavior. So that's where we're focusing tonight. So if I don't answer your questions, it's not because I don't want to. It's that every night this week we're having a different focus, and we're going to try to stick to that focus. So if you have any questions specifically about explicit matter and how it plays out, save them for next Wednesday, when it will be me alone on After Hours Rewire.
That is right.
Tonight, really, last night before we wrapped up, I posed the question to ask you to think about your own thinking and how it's influenced by the screen and by people in your life for today. That's what the questions we're going to focus on. Thinking. Meta, before Meta became a company, it was one of my favorite concepts back in like grad school. Thinking about thinking is one of my favorite things. So that's what we're going to do.
We are thinking about thinking today.
That's what Meta
that is the overarching concept of today's conversation.
Daywalker,
what's up? In the chat. We got Muhammad in the chat as well. Hello.
Yes, looking good. All
nice.
Right, Timothy Griggs, we are here to help, my friend. The whole point of Supernormal Week is to show up from different angles for you. So tonight, thinking. And yesterday was willpower. If you weren't with us yesterday, we'll have videos posted once Vina here in the chat gets them and edits them for us. So think about that. Hey, Sahir, if I'm saying that right, what's going on? Mohammed, this is my son, Declan.
Hello.
We are not friends. Well, we are friends.
We are friends. We're also mother and son.
We are a mother-son duo. So we're here to present screens, and I am a cognitive neuroscientist for anybody who hasn't joined us here on the channel before. Do you have it going on Supernormal too?
No, I don't.
So my whole deal, one of my sayings in our home is science never sleeps. I love the science behind all of this, and mostly to apply it to help people live their best lives. And what's your deal over there?
What's my deal? I'm just happy to be here. I'm enjoying settling into a stream right now.
Yeah. So we are relaunching our nonprofit organization, which has been around for many years, but Declan actually had a lot of really awesome ideas of how we can get balancing screen time so that it doesn't become a slippery slope for people into more people's hands, and teaching them not only the neuroscience concepts, but motivation and working out and eating well and how to balance your whole life so that you can create the life that you want. And that's the point.
That is the point.
Let's see. Okay, let's get some chat going here. Yeah, let's keep it science related, fellas. We got our moderator in
we do have our moderator
house. Yeah,
doing a powerful job.
We are not political here on this channel. We are focused on neuroscience behind screen addictions and screen compulsions, and just using your screens well so that they become a tool for you and not you become a slave to your phone. So that's kind of our deal.
That is right. What time is it, Gina? 5:11.
It's 5:11. So
we can hop into the slideshow whenever we want. I'm happy to keep talking with the chat for a bit, though.
Yeah, we can keep chatting it up and see what we've got. Okay, the chats are the same. Okay, yeah, I got it. Okay, so tonight we are talking about, do you want to intro it a little bit more so we can hopefully get some questions around like thinking or do you want me to? Because I have thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, the slideshow is going to cover a lot of it too. So.
Okay, well, just to prime people so
yeah,
that we can get some questions, because obviously we want you to bring comments and questions into the chat so that we can answer those questions, because this time is for you. That's why we're here. So tonight we're thinking about, how do your thoughts influence how you're spending your time? One big concept I wanted to think about tonight together is time, right? One of the cool conversations I had today was, I was talking to one of my clients, and when you're in your 20s, you don't totally think about like time in the rest of your life, because it feels like you have, oh, I'm on this camera all the time in the world. So the idea is that, your behaviors in your 20s and your 30s really do impact the trajectory of the rest of your life. So that's why I want you to start thinking about your thinking right now, so that you're creating an intentional life, not just defaulting to whatever passive content comes up on your phone. We're talking about dopamine dependency here. We're talking about reinforcement loops and habit loops. So this is important stuff. So we are thinking about thinking and, keeping time, and every action you take, every thought that you have leads you in a direction. And that's what I want you to be cognizant of. Hi, Alfonsina. Seamus is trying to keep the chat clean. Tonight, we're not talking about sex addiction in particular. So Seamus is in the chat moderating it, trying to help people stay focused on thinking about, I love that, Dr. Scott, thank you, our thoughts, our beliefs. One other concept I'd like to dig into is feelings opposed to thoughts and beliefs. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of what limiting beliefs, absolutely. Many of us don't realize we, in fact, are programmed. We're programmed by our families. Our families are, historically speaking, actually, the first thing to program us. And hopefully my mom's not in the chat, because I've been trying to deprogram myself. Actually, they're totally aware I've been deprogramming myself for years. But we also program ourselves, and now the algorithm is programming us, whether you're aware of it or not. And that's some of the conversations I had with some clients today, that what they are consuming in content becomes what's in their mind. So it might be drama, it might be violence, it might be sexualized content, but it is in fact informing what you think, believe, and feel.
Red Meme 6680 asking about me getting my macros in. That's right. I gotta stay determined towards my goals. It's an absolute necessity.
Okay, yeah. So, or should I answer some questions about focus, and are you okay with that, or are we moving into?
I mean, I'm ready to move into the.
Okay, well, let me answer Sihar Sheath 6075's question. So, talking about how long does it take for a person's vitality and focus and energy to come back after they step away from the screen, bring down the need for high levels of dopamine from whatever content that you're consuming, seeking and scrolling, searching behavior. I thought this today, and you know how I said I want to focus on time? I had the thought today. People always want to know how long it takes. Time isn't the right question. The right question is, what do I have to do? And what things? Like, how long does it take completely depends on what you do. What you need to do to successfully do those things, get focus and energy back, is to, as quickly and efficiently as possible, step away from the screen. Declan talked about it last night, getting apps that balance your screen time, block you from using whatever apps so that you can step away from the dopamine dependency. Then many people think it's appropriate to dopamine detox. I actually suggest a dopamine stack in the real world, because we're trying to reset the pleasure pathway so that you're getting dopamine from your real life. When you do that, then you cut the time and you make it a lot shorter so that you can get back to, feeling great in your real life.
Mm-hmm. It's a really good way to put it.
Mm-hmm. It's not time, my friend. It's what you do.
Mm-hmm.
The pineal gland is in the brain. it is important. Okay, so let's jump in. We have a slideshow. We're gonna dive in deeper.
Today is Think About It Thursday. So, you ready?
I'm ready.
Let's
dive in.
do
it. No drum rolls today.
So, your brain is not overreacting. Your brain is on autopilot. This is one of the foundational concepts of today, Think About It Thursday, because it covers the fact that a lot of the time in your life, let's say you wake up and you're cooking, you take a shower, etc. You do these actions without totally thinking about them. You know that they need to be done, so you do them. And when other actions in your life, like going on your phone, get built into that daily programming of autopilot actions, then you do them consistently. So when you want to avoid going on your phone or something of that sort, you're not overreacting to go, oh, why do I keep going? Why do I keep going back to the phone? It's rather that you've built it in as autopilot into your daily life.
Mm-hmm. Right. So going against your autopilot can be challenging. And we kind of talked about that yesterday, that exerting willpower is one way to do it, but building discipline, new habits, new routines, so that your new autopilot takes you directly to the destination, right? We want to set your autopilot GPS to the life that you want, not a passive life that you end up in. And for many of my clients, they end up in a life that they don't want to be in, and they have a ton of grief and they can't see the way back. Faster you set your autopilot, the faster you're going to get to the destination.
That is right. So then, to back that up, we can talk about the concept of clarity. Clarity is really important when it comes to the way that your mind works. And what clarity is the moment between when something happens and when you respond. Mm-hmm. So a good example would be if someone said something that might irritate you, right? Mm-hmm. And instead of getting super upset instantly, which would be a very reactive response, you have this moment where you're allowed to have clarity. You're allowed to process and go, oh, how should I respond to such a thing? The same applies for screens. You're on your phone and you see a notification and you can go, oh, how should I respond to this? Should I open an app? Should I do etc. or should I not? There's that moment that you're allowed to have clarity. When you take that clarity away, you respond without thinking. You get a notification, you instantly click it. Someone says something that irritates you, you instantly snap at them. You get irritated, right? And that is the concept of not having clarity. So,
but you know what's necessary for clarity? Regulation. That's why in everything that I talk about, I know, broken record when it comes to the neuroscience behind it. But if your brain's not regulated, the more dysregulated you are, the more reactionary. That's why a decade ago on accident, I said, control your brain or it'll control you, which has become a tagline of mine. But it's totally true. If your brain doesn't have enough juice, like yesterday we talked about, the algorithm depletes your brain. That's why you don't have willpower. So I love to give everybody here very practical brain hacks. A brain hack for you is, are you reacting? Can you feel that gap? Are you regulated enough to take a new step or to have a new thought, to do a new thing? And if you're irritated, can you take a breath and respond in a different way than maybe you did in the past? Not snap at the person, not yell, not go directly on your phone. If you can't, you are not regulated. Your brain is dysregulated. The longer you can stay in that gap and the more you can choose new programming, the more regulated you are. And that's the work that my life is built around.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so moving forward based on that, clarity relates to the hijack that takes over your brain, which is called perceptual distortion. And the concept of that perceptual distortion is, let's say something happens that isn't necessarily negative. Let's say someone made a comment to you. It's very easy to take it not even at face value, but at a distorted value and go, I wonder why they said that. Did they say that because they think this about me or because they think that about what happened the other day? And jump to a conclusion and react based on that. So this perceptual distortion happens all over the place. It especially happens on screens. Someone posts something online and they weren't necessarily super passionate about it, but it's very easy to go, oh, I'm so annoyed that they said this, or oh, I can't believe they said that. When in reality, it might be nice to just take a step back, avoid distorting your perception and jumping to conclusions about what's happening online, and instead to go back to clarity, to think, okay, I saw this, what should I really be thinking? To take a moment to yourself.
Yeah, and I love that. And the idea of perceptual in and of itself involves perception, right? So Declan has a perception, I have a perception, we all have different perceptions. And the idea with perception is, we all think our perceptions are correct or are right. And to be empathetic and compassionate, which is a part of regulation, it necessitates being able to take the other person's perspective too. And whoa, what do we got going?
Are we back?
We had a glitch. We glitched. I
think we're back
out there for a minute, but I think we're good. Hit us with a thumbs up. We'll be back in the chat in a minute, but hit us with a thumbs up that we are still
let me get everything
good to go. If we're still here, because
I think we're good.
We did
glitch out for a second there.
Thumbs up. Okay, thanks,
okay,
Redmean. Thanks. You're okay, because there was a glitch there. But when it comes to perception, just be aware that there are different perceptions in this world, and we live in a more polarized world than ever before because of the algorithm. The algorithm feeds off it, right? Any information in the middle that isn't inflammatory doesn't really get served to people. What gets served to people is the polar opposites, that polarization. So when you consume content, you might react because it's more polarized. So the idea there is recognizing, compassion and empathy, and not taking everything, especially in the screen, to heart. And I have a lot more to say on that. We can do it in the questions.
Yes. So this is just a quick quote for us all to think about. Think about a time that you built an entire story in your head, right? About what someone's silence or tone meant and turned out to be completely wrong. What did your brain tell you it meant? What did it actually mean? How did you feel when you realized the gap between the two? So this is what we were just talking about. It's something happening in the world around you, and you thinking about it and maybe jumping to a conclusion, and later realizing, based on context or what you talked to that person about, that the conclusion you had initially was completely wrong. This happens all the time, and it is what we were just talking about, this perceptual distortion.
Yeah, and I have a really good story to tell about that once we're done with the slideshow, I'll tell. It's short, don't you worry about it. But I use it in my mind all the time to remind myself that my distortion can be, my perception, even though I'm pretty regulated, can be distorted. And so to not always believe what I think, to make sure that I'm quiet enough and I have enough clarity in those moments. Mm-hmm. And to go back to that for just 1 minute,
sure.
The reason that happened to me is I was stressed out. And I will tell you, my dear husband, Declan's father, was inciting me the whole time. So
let's not point fingers.
A classic Cosmos Lee moment. He was ramping the energy up and like feeding the distortion. The distortion existed in my own mind, but it was being fed by other people is the point. And then it tipped over to it became the reality that I anchored into, even though it wasn't real. Mm-hmm. And it happened with my besties. And when I saw the light on it, I said, I am so sorry. And you know what could have avoided the whole thing? Communication. And I'm always saying that here. When you have issues, if you just communicate openly and honestly and compassionately, it avoids all of the perceptual distortion. But it takes two to tango.
Mm-hmm. All right. So now we are going to talk about the Libet study. Your brain decides first. Do you know anything about this?
I do, but let's hear it. Uh-huh.
Yeah, sure. So as you can see here on the screen, we have a little graph that explains how the Libet study works. Your brain has a readiness potential, a baseline, and then as it experiences different activity, like talking to someone, it rises and rises and rises until it hits a peak. And then after that peak, it drops into conscious decision. So the whole concept of that is really that along your brain activity, you get to choose where you get to react. You can react when you're super heightened and you're immediately reactive to what they said, or you can let your thoughts settle and react after you have calmed down and have a very thoughtful, articulated response.
Yeah, and I think of it as reaction versus responding.
Mm-hmm.
And for many of my clients, I give them strategies depending upon what their deal is to create the gap that you're talking about. And a friend of mine who was also a client owns many hotels. I doubt he's here, but hey, if you are. He owns many hotels. And the only person who would ever call him is his main manager, who was only ever calling for problems, right? So he would answer the phone and then start yelling at this guy every single time. And so the strategy that I gave him is don't ever say anything to him. Listen to him and tell him you have to think about that for a minute and you'll call him back. That creates the gap. That creates that moment where he can process it a bit more and then respond instead of freaking out on the poor guy. Because obviously
in one of my college courses, it was a communications course actually. And we were taught this concept of if someone has a problem or if they're voicing a concern, like let's say they said, I'm mad that you forgot to give me my book back. Or they say, I'm mad because this, I'm mad because that. You repeat it to them. You go, so you're upset because I did this. And most of the time they'll go, well, not exactly. I'm upset because this. And then you repeat it. You go, you're upset because that. And then they think and they go, oh, maybe I'm not upset about that. I'm upset about this. And before you know it, you're at the root cause. You can skip all the steps of the back and forth arguing and you can get straight to what you want to be talking about.
Yeah, that's reflective listening, which most of us don't do, by the way.
Yeah,
right?
And online, on your phone and on social media is the number one place where you can use this. It's so easy to see something and to not ask anything in response to it, just to react to it, to comment, to keep scrolling even more and consume more of that same sort of content because you're either trusting it or you don't care if you trust it or not.
Right.
But it's
asking questions, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I love that.
It's a very strong skill to see something and instead of just scroll right past it, to think, oh, what should I be questioning about this? Is this the sort of thing I should be watching? Is this content even true? Is it misinformation, et cetera, et cetera? Yeah. It's all sorts of questions.
Yeah, I love that. Fiona, she'll read things and she'll be like, oh, she'll call me and she'll be like, this whole thing's happening. And I'll go, where'd you hear that? And then like I've tried to teach her to look into the source of things so that before she gets this reaction, she makes sure that it's, a real thing that's really happening from a real source and she can form her own thoughts and ideas around it.
All right. Yeah, so our next slide here. This is your brain on reactivity. I've got a quick list here of a couple things that your brain tends to do when you're reacting instead of taking a moment of clarity and then responding. When something happens and you react instantly, it's very easy to misread the tone of what's going on, to feel threatened by what someone said, to react before you even finished reading or listening to what someone said, to argue a position that you don't even believe, but you're just saying it because it's the opposite of something you didn't like, or to regret your response that you just said in quick reaction. These are very, very common when you're reacting instead of taking a moment and deciding what you really want to be saying.
Yeah, and that's when time's on your side, right?
Yeah.
Give yourself time to respond.
Yep. So going forward from that, between stimulus and response, there's a space. In that space is our power to choose our response.
Nice.
That space, today, we've been calling it clarity. It's the moment that you have between something happening to you and the way that you react to what happened.
Love it. And Viktor Frankl, what a great, if you've read his book, it's so powerful. And he was in a concentration camp, spitting straight facts from a world worst case scenario,
right? Yeah,
right?
Exactly. That's right.
So, yeah.
So going back to clarity is not something that's super easy to implement. You have that moment that you can take but to decide how you respond or to decide if you keep scrolling when you're on your phone. But to actually use that clarity to make that decision to do what you want to do rather than what comes instantly requires you to slow down. And this image of a drop in water is very basic, but it can be used to explain this. You see that bit in the middle where it's shooting right up? That's the instant something happens. And your response, if you respond instantly, is that large blip out of the middle. You'll respond in magnitudes that are not equal to what is happening to you, what you're experiencing. But if you wait even 1 second coming out from the center, it instantly starts to calm down and slowly ripple out. And those are some responses that you might have with clarity.
Yeah, absolutely. And that clarity comes from how fast your brain is performing. So from my standpoint, it always goes back to EEG. That's how I help people. I can see how people's brains perform using electrical energy. When you can't slow down, it's because your brain is stuck in what I call strained brain, a brain that's running too fast. And usually it's fatigued running too slow, wired and tired. Oh, we have a slide. Perfect.
Yeah, so here's a slide saying exactly that. It's
Beautiful.
showing a strained brain or a drained brain on the left, which is a brain that's out of order, compared to a regulated brain on the right. As you can see, it's green and the brain waves are much more balanced across the brain. And that is a brain that's able to take that moment of clarity and decide what they want to do rather than react. They're responding thoughtfully instead of reacting instantly.
Yeah, and a way you can get that clarity, I think a really practical step is to use your breath. Just take a deep breath. Someone's saying, even if it's on your phone, you read something and you feel that spike of fast, hot energy, that's the red in the brain map that we just looked at. That red is that rising, hot, fast, reactionary. It's basically micro fight or flight in today's day and age, where we have this fight or flight response. And if you're online, it's usually fight, right? So instead of allowing yourself to give into that hot, fast energy, when you give a pause, that fast energy comes down and you can have a new thought.
Yeah, so the brain hack of today is to predict, see how it distorts you, and instead see clearly.
Yeah, and the faster your brain's going, the lower self-awareness is. So the distortion, that goes back to my comment about the stress with the thing that happened with the besties, and then the hubs inciting me is I was stressed out, he's inciting me, making me more stressed out, and then I do something stupid to the besties. 2 days later, I'm like, how did I get caught up in that distortion? But there was some shenanigans involved also. So that's what happens to people, not just me, is that it's not just this context where it's easy peasy. It's more like there's all these variables. You're stressed, the people around you stress, the other people trying to pull the wool over your eyes a little, but it all adds to this distortion. Taking a step back before you do anything is the move.
Yeah.
And then you can feel confident in your response.
Yeah, so the thought here is that if you can predict in your life when you might run into situations that distort your perspective, and then you run into the situations where your perspective starts to get distorted, you can instead pivot and go, maybe my brain's distorted right now. Maybe I'm about to react in a way I'd rather not. So instead, let me try to take a moment of clarity and see a bit clear. And when you do that, you avoid having this reactive behavior. You avoid reacting in a way that you'd rather not. And that is what this big red X on the arrow here is showing, is that when you can have some clarity, you can avoid reacting instantly, which avoids you saying something you'd really rather not. And then you don't feel shameful about it. You didn't say it, you thought, and you responded in a way you'd like to, and you can feel proud of that.
Love it. Yeah. And one of the sayings in the business is HALT, also known as hangry in some people's cases, where HALT is hungry, angry, lonely, or tired. Those tend to be the top 4 reasons that people become more reactionary, right? You're fatigued, you snap. You're hungry, you're angry, and you're lonely. So, keep that in mind.
And if you want to see more like this, we have the main drtrishlee.com website up, where you can go and look at different programs that we offer, and we talk about these exact sort of topics there. But soon we're going to be releasing a new website and a new nonprofit, which is called the Supernormal Project. And that's going to be at a different link, which is supernormalproject.org. It's not up yet, but hopefully later this week it'll be up. So if you're looking to find some resources based on what we're talking about today, and you think that you could use a little bit of assistance moving forward on whatever you're dealing with, whether it be being sucked into screens all the time or whether it be explicit matter, we have resources that we can provide you. And most of our lives is dedicated to helping people with these exact things. So we are here to help.
Yeah, awesome.
And tomorrow we are going to be having Future Self Friday, and we are going to be talking about the concept of what you can do now to prepare for the future.
I love it.
And especially thinking about, who do I want to be in 5 years? Who do I want to be in 1 year? Who do I want to be tomorrow? And you can make these decisions, and we can use what we built on with willpower on Willpower Wednesday, and then reaction, like we talked about today, and Think About It Thursday. So we're going to be talking all about that tomorrow at 5 p.m. EST. So please feel free to come back and join us tomorrow. We're not done with the live for today, but this is just an announcement that tomorrow is going to be Future Self Friday.
Yeah, love it. I'm excited for that one.
Yes, and that is it for the slideshow. So now we can
get back into the
go
chat
ahead and talk with the chat.
Yeah, I'm psyched for the future self. You know, and as Declan knows, I haven't been stagnant ever. You know, I'm always excited. I'm glad to be the version of myself that I am now, but I am always excited to create the next version. And life comes in seasons too. So like, you know, it can't be avoided. You know, Declan's graduating soon. He's a college student right now, but he'll be done in just a couple months. Then we'll be a traveler with
then
some
I will
of
be
our,
a traveler.
with
Taking some trips this summer.
I know. That'll be a traveler, and then he'll be a nonprofit
That's right.
founder.
At least in my hopes is that I'll get some recording done on those travel trips, and I can use it as some nice content for the Supernormal project. I love to just talk about these exact topics, about screen addiction, and especially about taking where you are now and getting to where you want to be in your life. Just setting a purpose and following it. If I can talk about that while I go see places that I want to in the world, I feel like it'll be really entertaining for me and for you all to watch. Helpful as well. So
yeah, totally. Yeah. Absolutely, I know. And just the opportunity to try.
Yeah, what did you all think about Think About It Thursday? What are we thinking about thinking? Let's see if anyone's saying anything in the chat.
How do we scroll back in the chat? Can you go back?
Yeah, I can scroll back. I got to get the mouse though.
Okay, let's see. We have a question from Joshua. Let me look. In your experience dealing with generational trauma and clients, what is the best way to identify when you're reacting to a situation based on trauma instead of reality? Well, that's a great question.
That's a fantastic question.
Really good question. And Coca-Cola, I'll go back to your question and look at it in a minute. I see it there. I'll get back to it in a second. So my take on that is, I've already kind of said it, that, you know, in those moments, your self-awareness can be really low. But one exercise that I think is really important is to get a journal. And mine are too far away. I would show you them. I always get these pleather journals from the Mark.
Yeah, Dr. Trishley has about 350 journals.
I do, and most of them look the same. They're like this pleather journal. I get it from the Mark, which AKA it's Walmart. They're literally like $8, but they're really pretty journals. And I do think that's important. But writing your thoughts and writing down what happened in that experience, like the clarity that I gained from that situation with my friends didn't happen in the moment that it happened. I saw all the pieces later clearly when I was thinking about it. Neuroscience shows when you write things down, you can have even more clarity and you can have integration of your thoughts. So that would be my recommendation. And then this is the strat, okay? This is the strat. You look at that and then you reflect upon how you acted and how you want to act. And if there is a difference in that, you need to close the gap. So I do this in my own life, and I've grown a lot. I don't know if Declan has seen it over
I'd agree.
the years. I've grown a lot because I've intentionally done that. I look at the way that my parents behaved with parenting me. I've looked at that and I've chosen to parent very differently to get outcomes that I would have liked better when I was younger. And then even with my old self, I'm like, oh, dang, old self did these things. I'm going to do these things instead. And actually, Declan and I, we think about together a lot how to grow adult children. Well, like he and I are always kind of making the plans together for, adult children springboarding. But that's very intentional, and it's through discussion, but it's through looking at how I acted before and how I want to act, taking a new step and acting in a different way.
Yeah, and then we have Coca-Cola asking a question up there.
Okay, let's see.
I think they might have asked a few different questions. I'll scroll up for you so you can.
Okay, neurofeedback. We have a question about neurofeedback.
Okay, we're good.
So the idea with neurofeedback is a very high level technology that first of all, yesterday we talked about how you can use a headband that's called the Muse headband. If you look online, look up Dr. Trish Lee headband. I don't sell the headband, but I talk about it on the web page that you will find. It's not on my website. It's an old web page that if you Google Dr. Trish Lee headband, you're going to find the web page that talks about, blurring me out again here, that talks about the headband. That headband has one universal protocol of neurofeedback. The way that neurofeedback works, it doesn't put anything into your brain. It teaches your brain to reduce all of that hot, fast energy, high beta that we were talking about. And you do have to use it consistently. So I use a lot of analogies without talking about the neuroscience behind it, which I can at a different time. Mm-hmm. But the analogy, it's like a workout. If you want your body fit, what do you have to do? You
have to work out consistently.
Consistently.
So then if you want your mind to be fit, why not try to train it consistently?
Exactly. So if you want your brain to be healthy so that you can achieve your goals, so if it's stopping explicit matter, that'll help you achieve that goal. The reason you keep going back to dopamine in the screen, no matter what the form, if you feel compelled to go back to anything, that is a compulsion. And just to put one more context there is that compelled means you don't really want to go back, but you feel the need to, right? You're supposed to be at work or you're supposed to be studying, but instead your brain's going, no, go to the screen, so that's a compulsion. And using neurofeedback strengthens your brain so you no longer need that. That's the short story long, if you know what I mean. Let's see okay, Dr. Scott, please speak to how to address the space between stimulus and response when things are happening so quickly. Awesome question. It's time, my friend, right? So when things are happening quickly, slow things down. And the classic example that I was reminding Declan of, he doesn't remember, is at one point I had to take all the kids. We have 5 kids. I had to go to 4 open houses at 4 different schools within like 2 hours. So my brain's going, I'm in hyper reaction mode. And I don't know, Seamus probably doesn't remember, but what happened was I was moving slowly. I was talking slowly. I was taking longer to respond. I was intentionally keeping my nervous system slow so that I wasn't being hyper reactive all over the place. So if something's happening quickly, if you're in an argument, say, I need to think about that. I need 5 minutes. And if the person's not giving you space, take the space that you need. This is how you learn how to regulate, is by setting healthy boundaries to create the dynamics in relationships that serve you. And that's why I said earlier, it takes 2 to tango. And Seamus one time said something like, no, it doesn't. I said it takes one person not to tango, but it does in fact take 2 people to pull off a good tango. So if you're having difficulty with the tango of communication, you have to look to yourself first and improve your skills through better communication and emotional intelligence and maturity. Yeah. Then you can set boundaries to encourage your communicator, your partner, whoever you're talking to. But time is your friend when things get fast and heated.
Yeah, and on the same analogy of a tango, if you have one person who's really good at it and one person who just knows the basic concepts, they can tango great because one person is a very good conversationalist. So in the communication aspect of things, if you teach yourself to be able to handle situations and different interactions by thinking and responding or taking space rather than reacting instantly, then even if the other person isn't totally great at managing how they react to things, your ability to can lead you to have a really great result from the conversations you have with that person.
Yeah, and I would encourage you to, it's not exposure therapy per se, but I would encourage you to put yourself in a position to improve those skills. Declan was in debate class or club.
That was a good time.
And Declan became such a good communicator by putting himself in the position to become a better communicator often, right? Like that muscle. So by practicing it. So I have a saying, here we grow again. Anytime I find that I have to step up, or I want to, old me wouldn't have, but I find there's a situation where I should step up and communicate, and it's healthy conflict, right? I'm bred, my breeding, no conflict. I'm bred to just absorb stuff and not ever be in conflict. So I challenge myself into healthy conflict to not let things go, to keep communicating about it. But, you know, every time I do it, I have to do what Dr. Scott's talking about. I have to step into it and anchor the feed in and not leave the conversation until, you know, that tango starts going a little bit better.
Who else do we have in the chat today?
So, you know, we have a question about titles. It's about erotica, but it applies to everything. Clickbait's clickbait, my friend. Your brain is getting a drip of dopamine. It's even if it's inflammatory about politics, like we started to say, we're not talking about politics here, but, you know, starting to say, if you see a title and it makes your brain go boom, that is a little hit of dopamine. They're designed to do that. So it's important to curate your feed. You know who taught me that one? Our moderator, Seamus Lee, taught me that one, because last year on the birthday of my book, No, I Won't Sing Again, the book came out and I had this awesome trailer made. I thought it was awesome. You can check it out online. But I said to Seamus, watch my trailer. It's super cool. And he's like, hell no. That's exactly what he said to me. And I'm like, why not? And he's like, if I watch your trailer, I'm going to be served all things like your trailer. And he's like, I have my feed perfectly curated. So a saying that I think we should use, but I have not cleared this past the co-founder.
Sure. Let's hear it.
So one thought I had was, one of our sayings for the nonprofit, the Supernormal Project, it should be curate your feed, then call me. But curate your feed. Bad. It's not bad, right? But I think, yeah, exactly. Brick by brick, says Seamus. Curate your feed, right? And your feed should motivate you. It should serve you, not derail you. So curate your feed. How do you curate your feed? You cut out everything that is not serving you. Look at your feed. And we said it yesterday, and I'm probably going to say it Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. Why? Why are you watching the thing that you're watching? Why is it being served to you? And I will remind you about something in the algorithm in a second, but why? Think of the why behind it. And if it's not, and I love the idea of future self, if it doesn't lead you to become the next version of yourself, and if it's pulling you away from your purpose, and especially if it's, you know, wasting your time, and if it's not leading you. So when it comes to hypersexual content, that's actually taking you away from your relationship, right? It's not serving your relationship, it's taking you away. You know, cat videos, they can be fun. So the why there is entertainment, but that's how you curate your feed. You go through every single thing that pops up in your feed. Why is this here? What does it do for me? Does it have a benefit? If it's no, get rid of it. And for people in my program, what I have them do is cut everything out of their feed and then do a 30-day washout of not being in it so that the algorithm can die down. The thing I wanted to tell you about the algorithm, then I can throw back to Declan to answer a question, is that the algorithm's not neutral. People forget this. I had a conversation with a client today where he's like, this is so weird, Dr. Trish. It's like the algorithm knows what I'm thinking. And I'm like, no, the algorithm uses eye gaze, eye tracking technology. You linger on that for longer than you linger on something else, it's going to serve you more of that. Then after it serves you more of that, it's going to serve you something at just a little bit higher dopamine. Most people don't realize that's how the algorithm works. And your algorithm's different from mine. It's baiting you. So once you're aware of that, you become protective of what you let into your nervous system, I think.
Yeah, a lot of the way the algorithm works is based on watch time. So if there's 3 different types of content on, let's say, YouTube. You pull up YouTube and there's a video that's super bright and it's all in your face and it's every second there's a transition, and there's another video that's something cool. It's about a passion that you have. If you click the one that's just very reactive and it's almost like scrolling but as a video, then your feed will give you more of that. But if you click the one about the passion that you have, let's say it's music, then you'll end up getting lots of more recommended videos about music. Your algorithm gets built on what you watch. It gets to know you because you give it, oh, I like this one, and this one. And then it goes, okay, what ones are similar to that? This one and this one. So it gives you those. So if you watch things that you want to be watching rather than things that are just to pass the time, then you'll end up having an algorithm that gives you things you want to watch rather than things that are just to fill your time. It's what you give is what you get.
Yep. And we have a great comment from the Rich Buddha 3277. Rich Buddha, the algorithm is slightly telling you who you are, but this is a mic drop moment, is that the algorithm is making you who you are. We know this. This isn't just my idea. The algorithm now is distorting identity. And especially for young people, and it goes back to a comment that I made before, is that the family, right? The family structure was kind of the first algorithm where you got your feedback from your family, right? What you should do and what you shouldn't do and what you like and what you don't like. Now, most young people are not with their family as much as they're in front of their screens, and it is reacting to what they look at. But it doesn't mean it's inherently the thing that you would have wanted to look at if it wasn't for the dopamine dependency piece. So like, I use my daughter Saoirse as an example. She's an equestrian. She loves horses. Her feed's filled with horses. So that does come from her identity. But, you know, I've helped her to curate that over time. But if your feed's filled with content that came from dopamine spikes, let's just say your feed's completely filled with cats. We'll use that as an analogy.
Sure.
Is that your feed's completely filled with cats. You know, it doesn't mean inherently you were a cat lover. It means you lingered on the sight of the cats and you looked at the different parts of the cats. And then the algorithm started feeding you cats more. And before you know it, now you love cats. That's proven scientifically. It is distorting our identity.
Yeah.
Got me. And we all know what I mean by cats, right? I am not talking about cats, just so you know. Let's see. Yeah, it does take time to curate your feed, but it's worth it, right? It's only your life that depends on it and your brain, for real. Exactly, Kaylee. I like that because we're trying to tone it down here. So thank you for appreciating the cat analogy. Let's see. Yep, LOL, Rich. So let's see what else we've got here. Yeah, the algorithm does know you, and it is formulating.
It's kind of scary sometimes how well it knows you.
Yeah, well, it's forming. I've been diving into the research just on the algorithm. I'm writing my next book and really looking more into social media. That's why this Supernormal project is really important to me, because young kids' identity now is just being formulated, not only just by the algorithm and what it serves them, but by the way that they interact with people. Because if, you know, a lot of this is logical, like I said yesterday. You know, it used to be that you would go into the world and you would see your friends at school and you would then go to the park and play after school, or you would all be in sports, or you would meet at, you know, Friendlies. I met my friends at Friendlies back in the day. I don't know if Friendlies still exists.
I don't think it still exists. That's something I've never heard of. So
you never heard of Friendlies? I think Friendlies might exist, but you know, the idea is now everybody's online and people are interacting through DMs, right? So it's a different world, but we have to learn how to navigate it.
That is right. And it's the opposite for me. I was born much later, so I was born directly into that world. A lot of us have been raised by the algorithm. The algorithm's around us always.
Well, that is the important part. And it is different. That's why I love Declan being here, because I was laughing when you were talking, because I never really go on Instagram, but I'll go on like every once in a while. And now on Instagram, I get all these dance videos. Cool dance, like super cool, like Broadway dancers practicing. So as you were speaking, I'm like, I must have like watched a Broadway dance video that was served to me for longer, because now because I did think the other day, I hardly go on. I thought the other day, why am I getting more and more of these Broadway dancer videos? But I must have just stopped, and it was so cool, and I was watching it, but I'm like, you know, crazy, right? Now
it knows that you were interested. So
it knows that I was interested, you know? Yeah, Friendlies. I know. Friendlies had great burgers back in the day. Let's see.
Yeah. In response to Anthony's comment, which says that we were never meant to have 200 friends. It was 2 or 3 back before. It's
yeah, friends in quotes.
Yeah,
I love
it's
that.
friends in quotes for sure. Online friends, people you have added, I don't think that really makes them a friend of yours. It more is
No,
a digital connection.
Yeah,
there.
and it's proven that people are lonelier than ever. New book or newish book, it's now a couple years old. Anxious generation, the younger generation is more anxious and feels more alone than ever before. And that's why it's so important to get into the real world with a posse, right? And I say it all the time. You don't need a million friends. You just need a couple ones that can see you. That's the cool thing about those shenanigans that happened with my friends. Chanel was so cool, my bestie Chanel, because she texted out, she's like, friends, I do not know what's going on here. I'm picking you up, let's go out for dinner. How cool is that, right? And we hugged and we had like a little tiny conversation, and we were all a mess in that moment, moving on, right? So, that's the important part, is that recognizing it. And I think an interesting thing about being online too is people lose sight of the fact that the people that they interact with online are not necessarily those couple people that are important to them. That's why a lot of people who are creators become so distorted in their thinking because of parasocial relationships, which Declan and I should talk about, because we've been diving into that too. Parasocial relationships are, you think you know that person, but especially when it comes to some influencers, they don't have your best interest at heart. They are trying to connect with you for money. So, that becomes dangerous too, because on one side, you think you have a really tight relationship with this person. On the other side, you're a product.
Yeah, and even on that front, there's so many influencers and digital creators that use their audience to make money, and they have to as a living, that even if there's a bunch of them doing it without good intent, the creators that do have good intent and really just want to share their content have to follow this trend of, how long can I make my viewers watch my videos? I have to retain my viewers. I can't just tell them what I want to right at the start. I have to drag it out and wait till the really end of the video to say it, so that I can make a living online. So
yeah,
it's a really interesting dynamic.
Yeah, and I think the idea of influencer is just a really interesting idea in the first place. Influencer, right? So like, if you're watching influencers, they're inherently influencing you. Mm-hmm. And then we forget that. Like, we lose sight of the fact that we're allowing ourselves to be influenced.
It's in the name. Yeah. So if you're going to watch online content that's made by influencers, I would pick good influences.
Yeah, and user RR 9VU4DG3K. User, you have a really good point. Could making life more analog and less digital help? A resounding yes, absolutely. Get into the real world. A number one strategy that I tell people all the time: find a group of like-minded people, and you might have to go through a bunch of groups to find the one that's right for you. Mm-hmm. But you don't give up. That's your life. And you find, join ski club, join dart club, find a posse of friends, and even if it's 4 of them,
join a book club, even whatever you can find around you, where you might think that there's positive influences, even if you haven't met anyone yet. Putting yourself out there somewhere that's analog rather than by only talking to people online can be really, really good for you.
Mm-hmm. Erkin, if that's how you say it, I like to use the word proven, and I will tell you something that I try to do, because I agree with you. Like, scientifically proven is totally overused. Something that's important for me, and I think is a skill that I've built. I have education in a wide variety of areas and topics, is to basically like pick up the breadcrumbs and to be able to put the trail together. So like one-off scientific studies, that's not quote unquote like proven, because you can look at that and make the story around it, right? But what we're talking about here is many studies from many different areas that converge into a reality that's happening. So that's what I'm trying to communicate to people, is that, we're not blowing smoke at you. It isn't hyperbole like people will say. This is really happening, and it's across many different aspects and areas. So, I mean, I know what you're saying there, but it's a little different than, just a one-off scientific study. So
yeah, we have a
Moodalip
in the chat with some donations.
Yeah, thank you for the donation.
Thank you so much for that. We're so happy you're here.
Yeah, all the donations. We haven't really been asking for donations because we really are here about trying to give you content and to help you.
They are appreciated.
All the donations are appreciated, and we are putting them towards the nonprofit. So your donation is going to create 4 programs. We have a prevention program, a remediation program, a parent program, and an organizational program. We've created them already. They're we have to record them still.
These are programs that help people with screens, people who want to be on their screens less, people who see themselves using their screens slightly more and want to stop that increase, or people who are already using their screens far much more than they would like to and would like to tone back on it. So we have a variety of different programs for people who are in different places.
Yeah.
We have the reset program, right? Which is for people who feel that they're already addicted to their phone and they want to be off of their phone much, much more than they are. And that's what that's for. And then is Unplugged the one for prevention. It is people who are seeing that they might get into this trend of becoming addicted to their screen and they want to avoid that.
Yeah, and just learn about it more. And the nonprofit, the goal is that nobody is turned away from access to these programs. First of all, they're going to be priced very low so that it's easy for most people to access. And then we're taking donations so that nobody's turned away because of financial need. So, that's what the donations will go toward.
Yeah, Dylan, thank you so much for the donation.
Yeah, thank you. We really appreciate it. We're going to put it to good use. Thank you. Declan and I are working hard. We've crafted the 4 different programs. We have a good plan to get them out there into the world. Declan's running some tech, so I can't really see the questions, but let's see. I think he's looking for...
I was looking for a specific comment, but it might have gotten lost in the waterfall of support that we have.
Let's see. Let's see. Dr. Scott, I can't find your question, my friend, but if you put it... Dr. Scott, if you put your question in again... Declan, 2 days ago, what's today, Thursday? 2 days ago, I was so busy, I blasted off an email that had so many typos in it. So I am very, give a lot of grace for having typos.
And we are just about wrapped up for today. If anyone wants to ask any final questions or make any comments, we would love to answer them before we wrap the live up for today.
User. We are super excited about the nonprofit because I work with a lot of people who, come into Dr. Trish Lee and company, and because of the nature of our work using top tier technology, and I have a lot of people on my team helping me to deliver our programs, not all people can afford it. The book is out, Mind Over Explicit Matter. It's on the shelf behind us, or it was. No, it's actually over there. But Mind Over Explicit Matter. I know people in many countries have gotten the book, and it's a really awesome first step. It has.
And where can people get the book?
You can get the book where books are sold, basically anywhere books are sold. You can get it at Amazon. So Amazon's the easiest one for people usually. So start there with the book, and then keep an eye on the nonprofit. Next, thank you, FabStream41. I really appreciate it. The donations are so much appreciated. Next Wednesday, I think, is a giving day in the United States where people donate. So my hope is that the nonprofit website will be up so everybody can see it and donate if they're... thanks. I always joke, if you're going to binge any videos, they might as well be mine, right?
Yeah, thank you, Metalip, for the other donation right there. The most important condition is an advocate.
He wants
I'll give a nice Dr. Trish Lee hug, of course.
All the time. One cool thing about Deck and I is, even this morning, we both wake up and we're like, we're tired. We've been working hard, and we give each other like a hug of like, we got this, man.
And Metalip said the most important condition for success of an advocate, especially a reformer, is self-sacrifice. You could phrase it a couple different ways. One way you could phrase self-sacrifice is the struggle that you get when you're looking to pick up your phone and you have to fight it and not do that. That obviously is not a great feeling. It can take a lot of self-control, and it could be a form of self-sacrifice, sure.
Yeah, but I really think it's sacrificing the old self for the new self.
That's right. That's exactly the point I was trying to make.
Because, and I was just talking to my friends about this, like, if you are growing, we talked about this yesterday, there's struggle and there's challenge. And the growth is you're leaving the old version of yourself to get to the new one. So in that, that is the growth moment. So Samuel, I hope Declan doesn't have a life filled with rejection too. But here's what I know.
I hope I don't have too much rejection in my life either.
Here's what I know about this man is that, when he's already been talking about it, when you have strong identity from the inside out, this is the difficulty with the algorithm right now. You have resilience. And of course, you end up actually with less rejection because you are resilient. And we already talked about perception and the way that the world is colored because of the way that you're seeing it in your response. So hopefully it doesn't have a life filled with rejection, but when rejection comes.
We want to wrap up with reading what's left in the chat right now before we end the live?
Yeah.
Sure. I see that we have Joshua commenting, what's a better response in the moment when emotionally triggered instead of yelling? How can I move in a positive direction? Yeah, that's exactly the concept that we talked about today. So let's say someone says something and you feel compelled to yell. It's really easy just to yell immediately because it's the default response. But the better choice is to take a moment of clarity. And that's super hard. If you're used to yelling a lot, most of the time you won't be able to take that moment of clarity. But if even once or twice, you can stop for a second and think, what other options do I have to respond? What did they actually just say? Is it worth yelling about? Or is there another response, a much simpler one that I could give? Or could I even say nothing and just listen to what they're saying? Or could I ask them, what do you mean by that? You've got all these options, and the easiest one is yelling. But even if once or twice you can decide to take a different response, before you know it, you'll see every time that you could yell, I've got all these options.
Yeah, and I have a thought too. And Jekyll, yeah, we are live, Jekyll159. My thought is the more dysregulated you are, you won't be able to think about anything. So plan your response ahead of time. So if somebody says a thing that now you feel that heat rising, then the thing you're going to plan in advance when you're more regulated is, I need a moment. And then you walk away. And so in that moment, you're not even trying to decide. Of course, if you can have discernment, then you breathe through it, which that's what I do now. Like, I feel it like, okay, here we go. I can feel the heat rising, but I can bring the heat down a little bit, enter the conversation. But back in the day when I first started practicing this, and I have a couple stories with the kids would, they'd be pulling my last nerve,
Yeah, we can get into those in the rest of the lives this week. Just quickly comment on what Juxtaposition commented.
What is it?
We're doing more lives this week. We are currently in the Supernormal week event. We're on day 2. We're going to be doing 7 straight days of live streams at 5 p.m. EST. So tomorrow at 5 o'clock our time, we are going to be live again to talk even more with you all.
Yep.
So
before we wrap up, I'll say what we're doing each day.
Sure.
Sound okay? And then we can.
Or
tomorrow,
even just for tomorrow would be.
Tomorrow we're doing future self. On Saturday we're doing supernormal stimuli. We're going to tell you all about what supernormal stimuli are and how they're affecting you. Really cool study that has ripple effect. Sunday we're talking about socialization, social anxiety, and how to have a healthy social life. Monday we're talking about motivation.
It's Motivation Monday, that's right.
Not to count on it, but to develop it. And then Tuesday, Triumph
Tuesday. We're going to end strong.
Rock it out.
All right.
Tomorrow, future self, join us. Same time, same bat channel, same bat time.
Yep. We hope to see you tomorrow at 5 p.m. EST. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming.
No problem, Fab
and no
Stream.
worries about
appreciate
misspelling my name.
All right, everybody, control your brain till tomorrow, or it'll control you.
So you want to say it to the camera over there?
All right, control your brain until tomorrow, or it will, in fact, control you. We'll see you for Friday night.